It's Brian, and I am tired. I did not want to make another Disney video this soon, but y'all need help, clearly. So you might have seen the news, but earlier this week, Disney World in Florida shut down Splash Mountain, a ride that stood for over 30 years and has become one of the big fan favorites. This came about 2 years after Disney originally announced that they would change the ride, retheming it from Splash Mountain as we know it to something more inclusive, which ended up being Tiana's Bayou adventure based on Princess and the Frog. And let's get this out of the way. I am not here to debate whether or not Splash Mountain or Song of the South are racist. They are. It's not up for debate. As such, I will not be engaging with any comments that are arguing the opposite side. You're wrong. You're going to leave the comments anyway, but I'm telling you up front, I'm not responding. And you're going to say, oh, it was fine when they built it. It actually wasn't. Although I and many others like me went on the ride and carried on an existence of blissful ignorance, not knowing that it was an offensive property, it doesn't mean that it wasn't at that time. It is now, and it was then. People protested the movie when it came out. So it's always been bad. Okay? Thanks. We got that all figured out. So yeah, they're changing the ride to be centered around Tiana from Princess and the Frog. It's going to be this whole Bayou adventure. And they've shown models and sort of mock-ups of what it's going to look like. And it looks like it's going to be a great ride. I think one concern that I've seen that is outside of everything else that we'll talk about here is that it is kind of losing the mountain nomenclature, which is kind of big in Disney parks attraction significance, but I don't really care about that. So the ride is going to be the same. The ride system, it's the same. It's just different characters. The animatronics, they're going to be the same. They're just going to be having different fursuits on them and stuff like that. So it's going to be the same. Okay, it's the same. And I'll be the first to admit, I loved Splash Mountain. There was a time in my life, childhood to adulthood, where I probably would have claimed it as my favorite ride in the park. I like the ride system. I like the log flume. I like the drops in the water. It was all really cool. And even the, show elements, the animatronics and the big scene at the end with the riverboat. It's really a spectacle. It's really cool. Or at least it was until I learned all the sort of intricacies and underlying problems with the source material. And it's not just this ride that I am blissfully unaware of the source material for. There are lots of other rides in Disneyland that I'm never going to watch the movie for. I don't care. Like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Has anybody seen that movie? I know that there's going to be people in the comments saying they have. I don't even know if it is a movie. I haven't seen it. I don't know. All I know is I go to hell at the end, and that's fun. And like all the classic princess movies, Cinderella, Snow White, all that stuff, I haven't seen those in decades. So I am not familiar with the source material at all. So this is not an isolated occurrence for me. But despite all that, once I did learn about the problematic history of this source material, I was understanding of this ride closure and what it meant and why they were doing it. I even remember initially when they announced it, I was disappointed, not because I liked the Splash Mountain theming specifically, but because I liked the ride. I didn't want the ride to go down for 2 years while they rethemed it, because I liked the physicality of the ride. I liked the log flume. I liked the drops. I liked the water. I didn't want to lose that. I wanted the new theme, but I didn't want to not have that ride for 2 years. But as time has gone on, I've found it harder and harder to be a fan, even of the ride itself. I've had many opportunities to go on the ride in 2022 before it all shut down in places. It hasn't shut down at Disneyland yet, but I was at the parks 10 different days that year. And I only went on it twice. And this is a ride that I once called a favorite. So getting to know sort of the issues with it kind of really changed how I interacted with it. So I'm genuinely excited about this retheme. And I think the things that they're doing with this ride and with other portions of the park, specifically at Disneyland, bringing in Tiana's Palace in place of the French Market, I can't remember, but I think it's the French Market. I think those are really constructive and cool changes that are going to change the sort of physical look of the parks and make a more engaging sort of environment. I think the lights on the restaurant are going to look amazing. I think the new landscape of the hill, I guess you can't really call it a mountain anymore, but the new landscape of the ride is going to be something that changes how the park looks and how Critter Country feels. So I'm all in for that. I think it's going to be great. Obviously, though, there are other people who aren't as receptive to this change and are treating it as if Disney is taking away their entire childhood. You can have memories associated with this ride. That's fine. Go for it. But it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same. So it's fine. It's fine. You can be sad that it's going to be closed for a little bit, but it's going to open up again. It's going to be the same. It's going to be good. So it's fine. But no, these people are really upset. There have been petitions. There have been mock funerals. People wore all black to the park to say goodbye to the weird stuff. My entire social media feed, TikTok, Twitter, everything was just inundated with people doing these weird, mournful things for a ride. Like, it's a ride. Okay, so let's just get into some of those weirder, zany, problematic things that I witnessed, and let's talk about them. So just to set the scene, last day of operations in the park, the wait time for the ride bordered on 4 hours at certain times during it. 4 hours. Perspective. On a hot day at Disneyland, Walt Disney World. You know, we're in Southern California, we're in Florida. On a hot day in the middle of summer, you'll sometimes see waits of like 90 minutes for Splash Mountain. And that's still too long, I need to say. But yeah, the most you'll ever see is like 90 minutes. Maybe 120 on like a rare day. But like, you know, that's the maximum. And people were waiting double that, at least, maybe more, just to ride on the last day. Crazy. Like, you can agree with me there. That's crazy. And as I mentioned in my last Disney video, if you are in line for a ride by the time the park closes, you can stay in line and go on that ride. That's like, I guess, I don't know if it's in their rules officially, but it's a thing that people do and has been accepted by Disney. And so while I was scrolling my For You page the day of the last operation for this ride, I saw some live streams as the day was winding down, and they were like almost bragging, saying that they were going to get in the line at 5 minutes before the park closed. And it's just like, okay, conservatively, let's think about it. If the line is half as long then as it was at the peak hour of the day, the peak 4-hour wait time, you're going to be in line for 2 hours after the park closes? And like, I know, well, actually the rules say it's fine. Like, but like, this feels like an extenuating circumstance, does it not? You're going to make cast members, ride operators stay that long just so you can get on this ride one more time? I know it's within the rules, but it just feels so weird. And you guys know how I feel about people staying after hours. It's not my favorite thing. It got so bad, I saw that cast members, security, janitorial staff, they all like physically blockaded the line, the end of the line, to make sure nobody else got in it after the park closed. That's how like strict it was with people getting in line. How many people were actually rushing to get in line at the end of the day, wanting to be the last people on the ride, which is absurd to me. The one good piece of news that came from this is that the last rides were actually park staff, not people, guests who went to the park that day and tried to get in the last possible slot to get on the ride. So that's cool. Like, at least that happened. It's a very minor little thing, but it's cool that happened. And like I mentioned before, there were people who had like funeral garb on during the day at the park for this ride, which just feels insane to me. To be so mournful for a ride that is being replaced specifically, like explicitly, because of its racist undertones, and you're out there mourning it like it's a dead relative. What? Ugh. But not all the, bad shenanigans happened at the park. There were some, genuinely funny moments that came out of the last day. There were some really scary moments that came out of the last day. Lots of stuff happened in and out of the parks on social media. There was one mother who posted a TikTok saying she was sad that the ride she named her daughter after was closing. The daughter's name was Briar, not Splash, but still, like, it's a really weird thing to post. Kind of funny, like, funny weird. There was more stuff, too, that was neither funny nor weird, but just extremely problematic and uncomfortable, questionable. Not even, it's just bad. There were petitions that were posted. There was a post that was made on a Facebook group, both with the message, Brer Lives Matter, which is just awful optics in light of the reasons why this ride was being rethemed. I know that the people who are advocating for the Disney company to keep the ride the same are not the people who generally would care about the Black Lives Matter. That is a generalization, and it's a big one, but based on what I've seen, I'm okay making it. Still, that is wild. That is bad. And then just adding on to that, you have all these creators who are on one side saying, it's a good thing they're taking down this ride. Finally, this ride has been so hurtful. I didn't like this ride. I didn't feel included with this ride in the park. And just every single comment, it felt like, was, can you explain why this ride was racist? Why was this ride racist? It wasn't. You can't tell me this ride was racist. You went on it, though. You must have liked it. You couldn't have thought it was racist. It's just like, social media was a mistake, that's how I felt the whole time. But sometimes it's fun because you get to make videos like this and talk about idiots. So that's worth it. So there's no real message here other than Disney adults are probably beyond image revitalization. Like I can try my best selfishly to rejuvenate that brand image, but based on this yesterday, it's not looking good. I don't think there's a case for me to be able to do anything here, so I might just stop. It is just quite literally baffling that people can be this up in arms over a retheming of a ride. The ride system, the ride itself is staying. It's just a different fabric skin over some animatronics and a different song that's going to play. That is it.